All right, now I know I haven't made a video in, you know, like a week or so, because I'm a busy guy, but I thought I would cover this. And it looks like fraud to me, at least, because I know a lot of people was trying to in California, because I live in California, is trying to get rid of Gavin Newsom. There was a lot of people trying to get him up out of there, and all over the state. And for this to happen, it don't smell right. I did hear somebody say, I've heard people say that when they showed up to vote, that the system was saying that they had already voted, so they couldn't even vote, because it's like, how is that possible? How are people voting before they even vote? You know what I mean? And how is that being calculated? And what? So it says Los Angeles, okay. California Governor Gavin Newsom easily survived a recall election Tuesday in a closely watched race that drew national attention and campaign visits from President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. The Associated Press projected less than an hour after polls closed in the state. Okay. With 62% of ballots counted and more than 2/3 of them saying no to the recall, Newsom addressed his supporters in Sacramento. Okay. No is not the only thing that was expressed tonight, the governor said. I want to focus on what we said yes to as a state. We said yes to science. We said yes to vaccines. We said yes to ending this pandemic. Now, what's weird is that when Trump was in office and he was bringing the vaccines out, Maxine Waters and all the Democrats were saying, you can't rush this vaccine. You can't rush the vaccine. Trump is trying to rush it and stuff. Now they're saying we say yes to vaccines. You know what I mean? Now that their party is in power, it's, yes, we're saying yes to the vaccines. Okay? So it says, I'm humbled and grateful to the millions and millions of Americans who exercise their fundamental right to vote and express themselves so overwhelmingly by rejecting the division, by rejecting the cynicism, by rejecting so much of the negativity that's defined our politics in this country, he added. Preliminary exit polls suggested the very issue that recall proponents had hoped would unseat Newsom, the pandemic, was the one that helped propel him to victory. Not only did COVID-19 rank as the number one issue on voters' minds, ahead of homelessness, wildfires, crime, and the economy, but just 3 in 10 in California voters said Newsom's pandemic policies were too strict, the main argument behind the recall. What you said? That right there, okay, I live in California, okay? 3 in 10. That number could be correct, because given the way people in California think, okay, given the way people in Cali think, that number could be correct. Okay, it could be correct. Now, when you go to the, because I'm a trucker, so I go to these other states and stuff. When you go to these other states and stuff, you see a lot of the people not even fucking with the mask anymore. They just not making a big deal out of it anymore. Okay, I understand, but Cali is still making this a big thing. And okay, so when they say 3 in 10, okay, well, in fact, I'm actually leaning more towards that statistic might be right, just given the way people in Cali think. Okay. It might be right. Okay. More than 2/3, 69%, said they supported the state's mask mandates for students. Just 24% said the pandemic was getting worse in the state. Okay. In one sense, Newsom's victory wasn't much of a shock. In 2018, the former San Francisco mayor was elected governor with 62% of the vote, the largest Democratic landslide in state history. Nearly 3 years later, 57% of Californians still approve of his performance in office, according to a recent CBS News poll. And Democratic voters outnumbered Republican voters statewide by nearly 2-1. But both the pandemic and the California's bizarre recall rules, which set the bar much higher for governors who want to remain in office than for challengers who want to replace them, gave anti-Newsom conservatives a glimmer of hope. Okay. Every California race for governor since Ronald Reagan's election in 1966 has inspired quixotic recall efforts. Prior to February 2020, Newsom's opponents introduced 5 recall petitions against him. None got off the ground. It was only when the COVID-19 started to spike over the holidays of that year, and when Newsom seemed to be caught off guard by contradictory public opinion over restrictions and reopenings, that the recall proponents were able to gather the signatures they needed to get on the ballot. See, that's what makes me doubt it, because they got a lot of signatures on those ballots, man. They got a lot of people, and the whole thing just don't seem, given how many people was trying to get out there to recall this dude, okay, and for him to just win in a landslide, it just didn't. But then again, it is California though, okay, which is one of the most democratic states, so I'm like on the fence about it. Okay. Hey, not helping matters was Newsom's deeply hypocritical decision to attend a lobbyist maskless birthday dinner at the French Laundry, a fancy Napa Valley restaurant, or a state judge's decision on the same November day as Newsom's fateful sorry, no less, to give those seeking a recall 4 extra months because of COVID to canvass the state for signatures. Okay. Even then, the recall would have failed to materialize if California required more than 12% of voters to sign the petition. The threshold is 25% or higher in other states, or evidence of actual malfeasance. In 2020, at least 14 governors nationwide faced recall efforts. Only California's attempt proceeded to a ballot. Okay. Meanwhile, the election itself would never have been considered competitive if not for the way it was structured. The first ballot question, do you want to recall the governor, required Newsom to secure at least 50% of the no vote to survive. This in turn was followed by a second question. If the governor falls short of 50%, who do you want to replace him? That would have awarded the governorship in that scenario to whichever one of this year's 46 challengers earned a mere plurality, even if the governor got a far bigger plurality on the first question than his new replacement got on the second. Okay. Incidentally, Keep Newsom never fell below 47% in 5/38 average of California recall polls. Elder never cleared 30%. Okay. Damn. But I think that's as far as I'm gonna go for it right now. Let me know what y'all think. Leave a comment, subscribe. Peace.